Hey, my family, welcome to my digital empire. This is Key. I'm really happy to see you. Spirit moved me to a new place where I feel passive and meditative. The High Priestess, if you know about tarot reading, you might know the card, the oracle card of High Priestess. So she came in my dream, and I knew right away it's time to retreat and to reflect on situations in my life. So I've taken time for myself, a little bit of time to detach from the outside world and to illuminate within. So I'm just coming out of it. I'm really meditative. It's really nice to see you. Today I'll be talking about intimacy blocks. So as you know, if I mentioned in many of my videos already, I only share things that I've experienced. I'm loyal in that sense because for me it's not work. It's not like I'm not making these videos to get money or to have a sort of reputation, to be famous. The only intention I have in making these videos is to let myself be known, to express myself, as well as to be inspiration for others, maybe who might claim such knowledge and wisdom. So I'm not afraid of making mistakes. I'm not afraid of vulnerability. I know that I'm being vulnerable when I come to the camera every time to make these videos and to even tell you about what I'm going through personally. But I had a problem of trusting myself and the things that I say in my channel back in days when I was beginning this journey as a YouTuber, because of the people that know me. What would they think? It's every time it's the people that we know, right? That's why sometimes we just leave everything behind, the people behind. We disconnect from everything that knows us and that we know, in order to start a fresh life, a fresh new life in a new place, in a new town. For me, when I come to Kigali, that was the intention, like to just be completely, to embrace the new me without having to check the people around me, or like without being chained by my past. So sometimes if you really think about it, it's because we make our lives about other people and what they think about us. We just think in our mind our life is about these people, 20, 50 people that we know, and we try to define our success and our worth based on their opinion of us, but that's wrong. Right now I'm not thinking about anyone that knows me. I'm not thinking about my family, my old friends. I don't even know who's following me at this point, honestly. And the people around me who embrace me as I am, I trust them. I trust them in being supportive. So that's why I'm doing this. Anyways, I'm talking about intimacy blocks because I have awakened to mine lately because of someone that I'm dating, and I really, really like him. And it's not just me, all of my archetypes are in agreement about him. The queen loves him, and the inner child loves him. He's a nice guy. It's not about, sometimes people make sharing love, when they come together to share love, they try to decide whether it's for fun or whether it's a relationship. I don't really understand these judgments, honestly. I've never understood them. For me, it's not me, it's not the other person that decides to be in a relationship. There are a lot of factors that contribute to coming together. Like, we don't decide everything in this way. Just when we come together with one person, we wouldn't know. Love comes as a surprise, actually. When you truly learn how unconditional love works, it's more of a surprise than a planned, a calculated thing. You know what I mean? Like, if I was asked 2 years ago what I want in a man, I would say, like, I want them to look like this, I want them to have this, I want them to know this and stuff. But like, you get what you get, and if it's meant for you, you will love it, and you'll be comfortable with it. So I don't necessarily think about being in a relationship or having fun when I come together with one person, but In the meantime, I want it to be the whole package. I'm devoted to the moment and to knowing them, because I make sure if I'm interested in them in the first place, I wouldn't let myself open. I wouldn't open myself up for something that I am not sure of, if I'm doubting the connection or if I'm doubting the person, if I have trust issues with the person by any means, I wouldn't even start it. So that's something actually that I'm going to mention as the number one. I wrote down the number one intimacy block is to think, especially I see it in a woman, to think that love is enough, you know, especially as empath. Love is something that we are sensitive beings, okay? So as children, even as adults, we always want to meet someone in a deep way, like to connect to someone, to be seen in, to be seen in our depth. So that's just something that we have always been longing for. So when we meet someone that we potentially can love, and of course the inner child would be very happy to find someone familiar. So we become convinced that love is enough. I know that to be true because in my past relationships, I didn't even care whether the man is working with me, like they are working their ways out up to meet me somewhere, like whether they are involved in their personal growth, in personal growth activities, or whether they are really like care about me or not. It's just, I just go with the first impression, and that's more of a trauma bonding than uh, true love or true connection. Now when I talk about intimacy blocks, even for you to know your intimacy blocks and your inner child, and your traumas that you have around intimacy, it has to be, the connection has to be authentic in some way, even for you, like for them to come into the surface. Because it's when you love someone for real, or when you like them in every way, they kind of bring the child in you. Like that's my experience lately, so I would know. So love is not enough. That's the biggest intimacy block. You are blocking your intimacy when you think love is enough, and when you are willing to just walk all the way without having to check whether that person is really with you or not. Even if they tell you that they're not with you, you might not even believe it, because you know that the love is there. For me, it was like that. The last person that I was in love with, and with whom I am not in love with anymore, I love him. I love all of my exes. I'm really grateful for them, honestly. Even like my karmic connections. And today, like early in the morning, I was thinking about it. Every relationship is just a possibility. There's no such thing as karmic or soulmates or like twin flames. All of these are labels. Actually, if you cling to these labels, they will just end up misleading you. That's what happened to me. I clung to the labels. So I tried to find myself in the labels. It's just every connection, every person, and every relationship is just a possibility. It would have been turned out to be something else that it's ended up to be. And it's every time, like it's just people coming together to experiment, to get to know what the deal is, and to understand each other, to hold the space for each other. And then if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You know what I mean? So the media tells you twin flames are this, and they belong to each other. They would eventually end up with each other. I bought into that idea, and it didn't do me any good. You know what I mean? So for me, it's more like, see it as a possibility, and don't try to define it like, oh, I'm having fun, or I'm in a relationship, or I want to be married to this person. Because that's a controlling mindset. Either you are wanting to control it or to manipulate it. The love needs to flow. It needs to flow. It's not that I didn't feel these intimacy blocks that I'm talking about right now. It's like my limiting beliefs and traumas, all of them were coming to the surface, but I knew that love just needs to flow, and that's what I'm doing. And yeah, that's what I'm doing. So when I say like intimacy blocks, I'm not referring in any way trauma bonding, them demons clicking, you know, when trauma bonding happens, actually you would know because you feel restless, you want that person, you just, you are driven by the inner child actually. And the inner child can be narcissistic, they can be very demanding, I'm telling you, this guy, my inner child loves him so much. So sometimes, like, she wants to force me to make a decision, like, to just, like, to make a decision that doesn't make sense. I know that I'm a patient person, the queen in me knows that she's gracious and she can attract whatever she wants. So like, I'm in that magnetism mode right now, but the inner child wants to disturb that flow because they are demanding and they can be narcissistic. Have you seen children when they want something, they are really like, we gotta have it now. So you have to know, you have to find ways to soothe your inner child, to redirect the attention of the inner child, which I'm doing, because like I'm eating things that I loved as an inner child. I'm hiking, I'm in a very natural place, I'm walking, these things that I loved to do as an inner child, I'm doing it because I need to redirect her attention from wanting to cling to something that she sees as valuable to having different experiences, to knowing that it's possible to shift from one experience to the next, and to see it for possibility. Like, I'm reparenting my inner child in that way. So yes, the other one, the number two intimacy block, is about actually the hurt child. So the hurt child, we all have our experiences. At some point, we experienced things that made us to believe it's bad to be intimate, or it's impossible to be intimate, or I'm not worthy of intimacy, or I don't deserve to be intimate. Like, we all have these judgments. For me, it came as like, so with my dates, he's really cute, he's handsome. So I felt jealousy. I felt jealousy at some point. It's just we were just sending each other pictures and stuff. So I saw a picture and I just imagined him with other women, and like, I felt jealousy for real. Like, and jealousy is not something that I would feel. It's the last emotion that I would feel as a person. I'm always happy for people, supportive of people. I don't really compete with other people because I've always been different since birth. So it's just jealousy has never been my thing. I felt it before, but like, it didn't ever happen as strongly as now. And it was the full moon. The full moon usually illuminates its light on whatever needs to be healed in the moment. So I was really surprised. Am I a jealous person? Do I have that in me? Like, I was really surprised. And then, like, I needed to meditate on it. I communicated with a spirit and I just opened myself up, and I sat in a meditation to tap into some of my childhood in memories, and I was supported by the universe. It's not that I was doing it. I was doing everything by my own. So I remembered that after my mom and my dad had broken up, like they got a divorce, right? I was only 5. My father didn't get married right away, but at some point he did. And my stepmom never liked me. She never wanted me to be around. I wasn't accepted in the house. So since I was 5 to God knows how long, I wasn't allowed to be intimate with my father, to be in the same physical space with my father. Before he's got married to my stepmom, we used to like cuddle, we used to hang out together. I used to sit on his thighs and, talk to each other. We had this beautiful father daughter connection, but like, that connection got interrupted, and I was already broken that my father and my mother got a divorce, and then I lost the whole thing, for this woman. And my father, of course, chose his life, and I wouldn't judge him. We all have our reasons for why we do the things we do, but like, it's because of that. It's because I was deprived of intimacy at that age when I tried to get to my father, when I tried to be close to my father physically, emotionally, to have that bond with my father. So now I have met someone that my inner child really likes, and of course I do like him also. um, just to think that there will be a third party between us, between me and him, disturbed my spirit. It disturbed my spirit, and I got jealous. But then, it was something that I was watching. I wasn't identifying with it. If I identified with the jealousy, of course, like, I would have said something bad, or I would have withdrawn, or like attachment styles are three kind of attachment styles I learned in modern psychology. The first one is anxious attachment style. So we are anxiously attached to someone. We wanna make a move, and not making a move and making a move, both of these things create anxiety within us. When we're not making a move, we're anxious because we're not saying what we want to say. When we are making a move, we're anxious because we don't know what's going to happen after we say what we want to say. So anxious attachment style, especially if you have abandonment issues, you would know. Me, I know that that was my attachment style before. The other one is a dismissive or avoidant attachment style. You are attached still to that person, but your attachment makes you to withdraw from the connection, like not wanting to get involved all that much. And the third one is the healthiest one, and it's a secure attachment style. Now, what I have with this man is what I intend to have with him is secure attachment style. It's just knowing that we're together, I can trust him. He's got a life to live, I've got a life to live. We both are individuals with our set of preferences and values, and we're coming together to just celebrate each other, to have a good time, right? To have a good time, or maybe in the future, God knows where it's heading. I don't have to control it. So the hurt child really plays a great role. So you have to know, like, what are these things. I was very loving as a child. I wanted to hug. I wanted to really, like, I used to tell people I love them. I'm actually the same now. I'm a loving person. So not anyone around me, in my family, my mother, my great grandparents weren't receptive of love, or like even like weren't good at giving love, sharing love. So I didn't have that as much. It's something that I learned as an adult. So you can do it. The third intimacy block I wrote down, all of these things are exclusively like mine. I came up with them. It's based on my experience, my current experience, and my past experiences. So you don't need to see them as an absolute truth, or as something that's professional. It's just from my heart space. So make sure that for more you can do research for more, for sure. So the third one is comparison. Comparison is a very big intimacy block. Like, you are dating someone, let's say maybe they are very knowledgeable, more knowledgeable than you are, and maybe you are more professional than they are, or maybe you are in a better financial position than they are. Anyways, we all have our differences, right? We don't come together, we don't date with each other because of our similarities. Differences are also very important, actually. The nicest relationships are the combination of both. When you have 50% similarity and 50% differences, and when you complement each other, when we're in areas where you're different, where you are different with each other, right? But like, we compare a lot. We compare, like, I'm not this way, I don't have this. Like, we just try to rationalize the connection. Rationalizing a connection is detrimental, because the connection is just starts in the heart. Usually, like, for someone to have that lasting impression on you, it has to come from your heart space, right? So now it's good to use your mind. For example, like, you have to really know what your values are, your personal values are. For me, for example, loyalty matters. Loyalty in my relationships, in my friendships, it's one of my highest virtues that I hold for myself. Also, respect is the other one. Respect, I cannot be disrespected. I don't like disrespecting others. So respect is also one of my values, right? So I can't be in a relationship with someone who doesn't respect me, who's not loyal to me. So it's good to know your values, but at the same time, wanting to be on the same level with the person that you're dating, it's unattainable. First of all, it's hard to attain, and second of all, it's like, it's you are thinking like that because you don't accept yourself. So instead of comparing yourself with someone that you're dating, saying to yourself, they're more beautiful than I am, they're more advanced than I am, they're this, they're that, you can just focus on accepting yourself. It works because once you accept yourself, you're just out there, you're on the table, you give what you give, and you don't have what you don't have. And that honesty should in itself should make you feel loved, like they should love you for that if it's real. I mean, that's very attractive. Honesty is very attractive. The other one, the other intimacy block is dysfunctional habits that I see in the young community. It's a hit and run approach, like it's almost a habit. Why I say a habit is, for example, smoking becomes a habit because you do it every time, right? Like you do it like for a week, 2 weeks, so you're making it into a habit. Even 21 days approach is recommended for a habit because it's the repetition that creates the habits in the first place. So it's a habit now to think that it's a hit and run style, like, okay, so there are so many people in the world and I travel, I know a lot of people, a lot of places. So for me, like, I don't need to stay in one place. It's just I can just be there for that time and just I can go with the next one. That approach I don't like. I go from one place to the next, but I don't go from one friend to the next. I don't leave people behind. I'm like, when people are good to me and when I have a connection with someone, I'm really loyal to that connection. It doesn't matter where I am. Like, for example, this friend of mine who welcomed me when I came to Rwanda and even took me to his place and gave me space to stay there until I figure out what I'm gonna do here, until I settle. I stayed with him for a month. His name is Bambo. He's a musician. He's got his family, like 3 kids and a very beautiful wife. So for me, like, now I moved out, I have my own space and I know what I'm doing, but at the same time I'm still keeping in touch with him. I still want to visit them. He's not just a passage in my life. He's not just a chapter that I moved from. Some things are to be kept. So learn to keep people. It doesn't matter who they are or what they are. If you really genuinely feel like they loved you, they care for you, just keep them around. So it's one of the things that, if you have that habit of hitting and running, maybe somewhere along the line you may have lost someone who's more valuable in your life, who even had the potential to change your life, just but because that you have that habit of running from one person to the next, you lost them. You didn't get to see the fruit of that connection, what it was meant to teach you, what it meant to show you. And also, it's just don't be like very rigid in your opinions of yourself. I don't want to date. I'm not dating for 3 years, so I have that vow for myself, and I'm just standing by it. That, like, within those 3 days, life is uncertain. It's just we all are in the unknown. We're just trying to figure out what the deal is, right? So in those times, you may have lost the biggest opportunity in your life because you are rigid in your opinion of yourself, what you should be, what you should look like. So love is a surprise, I tell you. So you have to just open up yourself for what's to come. The fifth one is ex-partners. Of course, ex-partners play a great role. Even, like, okay, let's say you're not in contact with them, you're not talking to them, and they are just completely out of your life and you don't even think about them. But at the same time, your body might be holding on to the memory of them, especially if you have physical intimacy, sexual intimacy. When I say intimacy, it involves sexual intimacy, emotional intimacy, psychological intimacy, right? So your ex-partners, your body may have their memory still, their energy may be still in your energy. So you have to make sure that if these ex-partners are just meant to be your memories, and if you're not keeping in touch, and if you are not planning on doing anything with them, it's better to just erase their memories in general, like, like just their gifts, like giving away the gifts and burning the postcards or pictures. That's what I do. I don't hold on to any gifts from my ex-partners. If it's ended, if it's ended. It's that simple. Because if I keep the what they've given me, if I keep something that will remind me of them, I'm still holding on to some of the things that we shared. And that's not how I do it. That's not, I mean, I you have to be fully committed to this person, to the person that you're with. They deserve it. So how do you fully commit to that, to the person that you're dating at the moment, is by moving on from your past life. Like, it's just, that's what it means to let go of the past. It means to let go of it in your body, to detox yourself from all of those past life ex partners, memories, and impressions. So that um, okay, the other one is the expectation of society. Yes, expectation of society, especially if you are in the homosexual community, you would understand this. I know I've met African homosexual people who aren't showing, who suppress their intimacy and their interest because they have to live up to the expectation of the society. For me, if you ask me, I'm Orthodox Christian and I'm Ethiopian and I'm African. So for me, homosexuality is more of a disease. It's an illness because first thing, it's not natural. It's not our natural state to be intimate with each other in that way, you know. And second of all, it's something that happened in the evolution, in the process of evolution. It didn't start. For me, I'm very natural. You see, like, I want to do things that Adam and Eve may have done in the earth, on earth. You know, I want to go back to the roots and just find myself there, you know, like just live in a jungle or just being very natural and tribal. That's my instinct. So it's something, homosexuality is something that we learned, like, because of our evolutionary process. So maybe in the evolution, men weren't sexually reactive at some point, so all of the women were disappointed, they were not like having orgasms. So now they thought maybe it's better if we just date with each other, right? Like things like that. Or maybe the human mind is sick as fuck, you know. We just, it's easy to imagine anything. So it's just in the imagination. That's the possibility that we created. It wasn't intended by the creator. So for me, it's more of an illness than a natural state. But that doesn't mean I judge them. I love them. I have homosexual friends. Even at some point I had a few, and I'm not sure actually if I have any friends at this point, actually. Like, well, I'm figuring that part of my life, but I don't judge them. I understand them if they come to me and ask me even for help, or energy help, or if they want to try to understand why they are like blocked in that type of, like, in their intimacies. I would tell them, I would help them, you know. It's not, I don't judge the act, I don't judge the people, I just know it to be an illness, unnatural. So anyways, the expectation of society, like for example, I'm 31, so I might think like, oh, what would my family think if I date someone who's 22, right? Because a woman has to be younger, a man has to be older. All of these things are the expectation of society. It's, these are standards that we can definitely break out of. So the expectation of society, like, how would, let's say I'm married to a white man, and we're traveling together. Maybe his family might see me and might be offended that I'm black, for example. It's the expectation of society. So love does not know all of these, and it does not know these rules. Unconditional love doesn't work like that. And also, like, time plays a role in this. Like, it's not the right time for me. i'm not yet I'm not yet where I want to be, so the timing is not right. Like, sometimes our mind come up with anything literally and try to make us to confirm to those standards and to those principles, and it's up to us to see it for what it is and to rise above it. You know, it's just when you love with your consciousness. Love is something, it's an orchestrated event that's being played out by using your body, your spirit, your heart. It's a combination of all of these things that lead you to the right person, and not just your mind. Um, okay, the seventh one is undeserving of love, unworthy of divine love. It's attachment to abuse. Yes, like, we are attached to abuse. Some of us are attached to abuse. Really, like, it's true. It's true. Like, some of us are really not open for healthy and loving relationships. For me, honestly, like, all of my past relationships, I would say, were dysfunctional. And the abuse was like, mostly I was abused emotionally. Like, I was abused by silence treatment, I was abused by ignorance, I was abused psychologically and emotionally. So for me, honestly, like even when I went out on a date with this man for the first time, it was actually on my best dates because the universe conspired. We were just supposed to do that, and it had to happen. So I kind of, he was very gentle and he was very respectful, and he treated me like like a woman, really. Like that was very ideal. But there was a part of me that wanted to fight it, that wanted to resist it, because I'm not used to that. Like I'm not wired in, like I'm not used to proper dates. How many of our African, especially African women, how many of us do think and believe that we deserve a proper date? Sometimes it's just, it's as simple as you find attraction with someone, they ask you like to eat dinner with them, and you eat dinner, or you just have a couple of beers, and second thing is you are in a hotel, in a room, and just having sex, right? Like how many of us do believe that we deserve a proper date where we're just taken out, having wine and nice conversation, complimenting, like being complimented, and then like being cared for? So you can imagine how our attachment to abuse can be like a block to intimacy, because intimacy has to be experienced fully. For me, to be loved is to be understood. I don't look for to be appreciated. I'm not looking for to be worshipped. Especially lately, I feel it that even men in my past are fighting for me somehow. They're not confrontational because they're not confident, really. Like that's something just I would say generally about them. But like they would fight for me energetically, they would fight for me in some way, and I would know because I have that big consciousness. And I some of them may have come in my dreams, some of them may send me messages through other people, but like still they fight for me. But it's just I don't I don't I don't I don't I'm not accepting of approach like this anymore, because a person who loves you and who values you should come, like directly, like just they should come to your face and tell you what they think about you. That's how it's supposed to be. That's something that makes you feel worthy. When you feel worthy of love, you don't want it minimized, you don't want it to, you don't want to go around shells, like you just want to be confrontational, as possible, because that's something that you want them to own it, you want them to claim you. You deserve to be claimed, and you deserve to claim someone. So intimacy blocks, for real, like we block ourselves from being intimate on a deeper level because we are trying to do things, we are just trying to do, going around the bush, not being honest with each other. And the last one I assume is abandonment issues and fear of rejection. Yes, fear of rejection. Like, what if I make a move and what if I get rejected? Trust me, like, just train yourself to get out of your comfort zone, like, get rejected. It doesn't mean anything. Maybe you feel low, you feel down for a couple of days, and then, you'll start as new. For me, like I collapse, I collapsed, I got collapsed enough into the darkness where I was, into the hole. I usually climb up of the ladder and then somehow collapse. That happened to me most of the time. I've been to hell and back, precisely. So I'm not afraid of hitting the rock bottom anymore. I'm like embracing the lower emotions. These are part of life. So if you get rejected, you'll just only learn from that. It doesn't mean anything. So just abandonment issue also, like know that the creator will never abandon you, and you will never abandon yourself because you are in your body. Like it's just, you might abandon yourself for the time being or just for some time, but then you will learn how to love yourself, you will learn how to be your best friend. So it doesn't mean anything, you just have to train yourself to get out of your comfort zone. Now in my situation, in my case, I send messages, I try to communicate with him, but like every time I do that, it's not that I'm 100% comfortable when I say things that I want to say, because I've never been as communicative as I am right now. I'm like I know what I want right now, I'm going at it, and when I say something, I wouldn't necessarily know what it's going to entail, but I would say it anyway because that's what it takes to learn. That's what it takes to embrace the new you. That is what it takes to have a meaningful relationship. So, okay, solutions. What's the solution for all of these blogs? I wrote down a few. Communication, like communicate. The first one is communicate, like just talk to each other. Talk to each other, like tell them that what you feel, how you feel, and let them tell you, let them be comfortable enough to communicate with you too. Sometimes I wonder, I have always been an open person, like very transparent, right? But in some situations with my ex partners, I wasn't open because they would block me from raising certain topics. If they are not interested in what I have to say, they wouldn't react, or they wouldn't listen to me, or they would just pull away, and I would feel it energetically. So I wouldn't necessarily say what I want to say. But like this time around, we don't have to be on the same page. He doesn't have to understand my language, but I would say it anyway because that's what I want to say at the moment. I have to express myself. That energy has to be, has to flow. So the first one is communication. Communication is everything. If you have a blockage in your throat chakra, you can heal your throat chakra. There are binaural beats. You can have a one-to-one session with me. I'm really good at that. So energy work, whatever, like whatever you have to do to unlock, to open your throat chakra so you can communicate better. The second one is put in some work. Be willing to do a work. The work, it's just it's not easy. Relationships aren't easy, I guarantee you. You do it because you deserve it and the other person deserve it. It's if it's easy and if it's just flowing, it's something must be wrong, that something must be wrong in that connection. It always takes work. If you love them, you will do the work and they will do the work. So when you get triggered, don't make it personal, don't make it about them. So just wonder, what is it in me that's being triggered? What is it in me that's reacting to this person, and or to the opinion of this person? What is it in me that needs healing? And then just be curious and put in some work. And the third one is be positive, expect positive outcome. Don't I was like, I'm really surprised by some of my exes, how they really like broke my heart. It's like, from I have someone in my life to I don't have them in my life. Like it's just the transition, how it happened, and the time limits, and everything. I know what I'm saying for myself. It's just, it's very, I would have given up on love. I would have just lost hope if it was about how I was treated in the past. But then I chose to be positive. I chose to be in love. I chose to understand. So stay positive. Expect positive. Don't start it. Don't be in it if you're not feeling positive about it. If you don't expect it to grow, if you don't expect it to teach you something, to give you something, don't even start it. Okay? That means you are not with the right person. So you can wait until you find the right person. The fourth one, knowing and understanding your values. Like I said, what do you value? Do you value intimacy? Do you value sexual intimacy? Do you value honesty? Do you value loyalty? Do you value teamwork spirit? Do you value honesty? Do you value, like, joy? Like, what do you value? Like, I listed down, I remember when I was working on manifesting the person that I want, I listed down more than 30, 40 values that I want to be in that relationship. So that gives you a direction, that gives you, like, it's your pointer, your reference as to how you're doing with the other person or what to look for in the relationship. So you know your values. The last one is pay attention to the inner child. Pay attention to the inner child. The inner child is, like, when you in a relationship, the inner child, really, like, it's about the inner child. A relationship, romantic relationships are mostly about the inner child. I would say 70% of the connection in general affects the inner child. So pay attention to the inner child. What does my inner child like? How would she want to be held? How would she want to be loved? How would she want to be cared for? So pay attention to the inner child, and most of all, like, don't make assumptions. Don't make decision based on assumptions. Always, like, think always like remind yourself that the other person deserves the truth. So guys, this is what I wanted to talk about today. It's actually a very long video. I'm saying like 14 minutes. Please let me know in the comment section what you think about this video, and if it's your first time, I suggest that you subscribe and you follow me up. And if you have any intimacy blocks that you want to work out around, you want to break out of, you can contact me on my email. We can have a personal private chat. Thank you. Rastafari Selassie.